Am I the asshole for telling my daughter, 23F, she's a bad person over pizza? My family consists of me, my husband, my daughter, 22F, and my son, 17M. My daughter moved back home during lockdown 2020 as she was finishing her master's degree. She took a year out to work and is now doing a secondary degree. I told her if she stayed at home and didn't take out any loans we would help her through the degree. We aren't paying for it though, food, petrol, etc. On Thursday night we threw a pizza party for myself, my husband, our children and their partners. It went great and everyone got on well. On Friday night my family, me, husband, daughter and son, visited their grandparents for a family dinner. On Saturday my husband and I returned from a shopping trip around lunchtime and told daughter she needs to get ready for the pizza night. She said she didn't know we were having a pizza night on Saturday. I had invited over a group of old family friends, and that she had planned her weekend so she could do all her work Saturday, and go to visit her boyfriend for Sunday, Monday as it is Valentine's Day. I told her she could at the very least stay for the meal but she said no, it always ends up becoming a long meal and she'd have to wash her hair and do her makeup which she was planning to do Sunday so she'd have clean hair and not need to wash it at her boyfriend's. I told her if she was going to act like that I would cancel the whole thing. She said that's silly, she just didn't want to participate as she had work to do. It blew up between us as she said this was her time to do as she pleased and I had just had a week of holiday. I complained about trying to do my best to please everyone and she said that's nothing to do with her, she didn't ask or know about my dinner plans. It escalated a bit and when her father, my husband, walked in I said our daughter was refusing to participate because she didn't want pizza again. She'd said she doesn't want pizza so soon after Thursday as well. My daughter said, it's not because she is making pizza, it's because I'm busy and I don't want pizza either. I exclaimed, she? I am not she. And my daughter repeated what she said but called me, he, instead. I told her she's a bad person. She did not join in pizza night. She was annoyed the guests stayed until 1 a.m. as she wasn't able to prepare her own dinner. We haven't talked since. Am I the asshole for calling her a bad person? I think she is ungrateful and should have just joined in but she doesn't like people seeing her as a mess, and blew up the situation. All she had to do was join in dinner. Edit. About the bit regarding pronouns, I identify as female but it is rude to refer to someone as she, rather than their name, title if they are part of a discussion. And she then repeated her phrase and used he when I was upset by the use of she, which was obviously meant to upset me even more. You are the asshole. If you wanted her at dinner because you were having people over, you could have just asked what date, time worked for her beforehand so she can make time for it. The fact that you are supporting her does not mean you own her time. She deserves her commitments to be respected as well. You are the asshole. Your daughter politely told you she had prior plans. You didn't inform her of the plan in advance and expected her to drop everything for you. That's not fair. I have no idea what your actual issue is with her use of the pronoun she. You craftily left that out. I suspect it, too, makes you look bad. You are the asshole and blew this totally out of proportion. Your daughter, who is an adult, by the way, had plans and you didn't communicate your expectations. It sounds like you have a mind movie of your mental image of what your relationship is supposed to be and she's not living up to this unrealistic standard. And why did you get upset she called you she? Your daughter was speaking about you to another person and was using your proper pronoun. You are the asshole. It's clear you never told her of your plans, probably never intended to either. You are the asshole, this is crazy. First, you didn't tell her beforehand. Second, she had plans that weekend. Third, she didn't want to come because she had work. I getting that right? Fourth, it's not like you are inviting her friends or people her age. Why does she have to join? Fifth, all people who get mad when someone is talking about them using he or she is an idiot. What should she say? Aren't you a she? I hate when people do that. Not she, am your mother. Are you an it? Sixth, she is not 5, she does not have to be there just because you want her to. Stop imposing stuff on your adult kids for no real reason. Seventh, can you explain what made her a bad person? You are the asshole, you picked a fight over a pizza? Face with rolling eyes, face with rolling eyes. You are the asshole. She's an adult. She has her own plans. You suggested she stick around while she went to school. She isn't obligated to participate in a mandatory family pizza party. Yikes, op. 100% you are the asshole. So you expected your daughter to read your mind instead of communicating with her? You're the selfish one, not her. She already made plans. Expecting her to blow of her significant other near Valentine's Day is ridiculous. Even if you made your plans clear ahead of time, and she declined, it would be her right to do so. You choose to have the pizza party. She has a choice to not attend. Your whims wants don't become everyone's priorities. That's called being self-centered. About the she thing. You're literally acting as if she called you a curse word. It's not a big deal. People don't use titles or names every time they speak. She used your pronouns. It's normal. You're on a power trip. Am I the asshole for causing a family argument over my nickname? I, 30F, have been B since I was born, and still go by that nickname with my friends and family as an adult. My aunt started using the same nickname for her eldest granddaughter when she was born in 2008. For the purposes of this, we'll just call her granddaughter, LB. I really didn't care, as it's just a name, and I had been B for 17 years at that point. 6 years ago I was working at a zoo when my mum asked if I would send some exotic feathers to LB, as one of her hobbies was collecting feathers. I agreed, and posted her some I had found around the zoo with a little note briefly explaining the species, names and personality traits of the birds they belonged to. A week later I was out at dinner with my sister and brother-in-law when I noticed I had several missed calls from my aunt. We've never really had direct contact, so this seemed odd to me. I checked my voicemail to find she had left me a message demanding that I call her back immediately in an angry tone. I was still trying to decide if I wanted to return her calls or not when I received a text from my mother warning me that my aunt was angry I had signed the note to LB, with love from B, as it had apparently upset LB, who was 8 at the time, that I had stolen her name. I don't enjoy melodrama, so I opted out and went about my evening with my phone on silent. I saw my mum the next day, and she told me that she'd had a falling out with my aunt over my nickname, as my aunt was demanding that I stop calling myself B, because it was unfair and confusing for LB. She suggested that if I were desperate I could be called Bigger B, but that it would be better if I just changed it altogether. We both laughed about it and I confirmed that what she had told my aunt the previous evening was correct. I wouldn't change my nickname, and I didn't expect LB to change hers. As far as I was concerned we could both be B, without causing harm. In the end I didn't answer any of my aunt's calls, and my mum stopped taking them too. Later that morning I received a text from her saying that I was a bitch for what I was doing to LB, and for causing an argument between her and my mother, to which I never responded. I chose not to have further contact with her side of the family, and have happily carried on going by B in the intervening years. I assume that LB did too, although I've never asked. My mother resumed contact with my aunt after a few months, but things were always strained after that, and they were never close again. Recently someone mentioned that I had caused an ugly rift in the family by refusing to change my nickname for LB or take my aunt's calls. They feel that I should have spoken to my aunt when she called and agreed to change my name to avoid hurting LB. I feel I was right to stand my ground over both my nickname, and my choice not to engage in the argument or have any subsequent contact with my aunt, but their comment has planted a small seed of doubt. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You can't just stop being B after 17+ years of being B. Your aunt could have chosen another nickname for her kid. Not the asshole, you aunt is the only asshole in the entire situation. It was your name first for years. She can't be pissed that you don't want to change it now to accommodate her not having to explain to her kid why someone else has the same name. Not the asshole. Revenge idea: have a baby, name it your auntie's name, then demand that auntie change her name. Not the asshole. You did nothing to stop them from using the nickname. Also, why couldn't aunt just tell the kid at the time that sometimes people share nicknames and make it more special that way instead of selfishly insisting there can be only one? Something tells me this runs deeper and isn't actually about the nickname. I bet aunt wants a similar status for her side or is competitive with OP's mom. Hell, most of my cousins are named for older family members. We have 2 Colleens, 2 Pauls, 2 Pamelas, 2 Moses, 2 Christines, and the list goes on. No one is pissed about sharing a name or nickname. Not the asshole. I keep picturing the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing fingers at one another. It's been your name since forever though, and little B sounds super cute. I don't see what aunt's problem is, but you didn't do anything wrong op. Not the asshole. Aunt and LB need to learn that no one owns a name or a nickname. Though I would be tempted to tell aunt she can call me Queen B instead. Not the asshole. People can have the same name. An 8-year-old is old enough to know sometimes people have the same name. I don't know if your cousin even cared, it was probably just your aunt. If there is a rift you didn't cause it. Aunt copies nickname, demands other person stops using it. Gets upset. Lol, not the asshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to stop calling my 9-yo son, honey? The situation is a bit silly, but I'll let you guys decide. IF36 have been dating my boyfriend Joe M38 for few months. He has met my 9-yo son and they both get along pretty well. Joe started staying longer during the weekends and days ago while he was visiting. He heard me call my son, honey. He stayed quiet during the entire breakfast, then brought it up with me. I asked what was wrong and he said that I shouldn't call my son honey especially because I call him that and he just thinks this term is used for romantic partners. I laughed it off because I thought it was a small and silly thing to comment on, but he got offended by my lack of care for his concerns and asked me to stop using this word with my son since he feels it's misplaced. I told him no, this was not a valid argument by him and in my opinion, does not deserve consideration. We argued for few minutes, then he decided to go out saying we'll talk about this again later, but I firmly told him there's nothing to talk about, and I will not stop calling my son honey. End of story. He got upset and went out. He then sent a long text about how I keep disregarding his thoughts, opinions and input and brush them off, not caring about how it makes him feel. He said it'd only be reasonable to use my son's nicknames when referring to him and we can be done with this issue, but I refused to stop. He's gone silent now save for a text here and there. Am I the asshole for not compromising and flat out refusing to stop calling my son this word? Not the asshole. I would stop calling him that. What a creepy thing to be insecure about. Edit. Him being the BF. Not the asshole. Here's the list of people who have a say on what you call your son. You, your son. End of list. Not the asshole. In my experience, honey is not reserved for romantic partners. He's being very silly. You listened to his argument and didn't agree with it. That's allowed. If he's so bent out of shape over this, you're better off without him. Location flag time to say bye to big baby honey. Yikes. Not the asshole. In addition to being ridiculous, it's actually a pretty negative red flag that your boyfriend is setting himself up in competition with your son. Not the asshole. It is an endearing term you use for your son that was used long before your boyfriend was in the picture. Kidlet comes first. BTW. In some regional areas of the U.S., the term honey and hun are quite common among strangers. My good friend near Boston said he goes to a Dunkin' Donuts for his regular cold brew coffee and one of the older ladies there always calls him that. Would your boyfriend go batty in those situations? Not the asshole. If you called your 9-year-old sexy, then yeah. But no. Honey equals sweet. It just means sweet person. There's nothing romantic about it. Your boyfriend is odd. NTA. Why the hell does he care so much? It's just a word. Geez. If he stops talking to you because of something so small, big red flag. Location flag. Am I the asshole for refusing to have a dry wedding? For some backstory. My fiancé's sister is an alcoholic. She struggled with alcohol abuse for the 6 years my fiancé and I have been together. She, like most addicts, is a terribly manipulative person who refuses to get help. She's finally hit rock bottom, I guess, and is getting help for her alcoholism, which I'm very happy about. By the time our wedding rolls around, she'll be 6 months sober. But because of this, my fiancé doesn't want any alcohol at the wedding. He thinks it would be too much temptation too soon. I think that's bullshit. He and his family have always enabled her to keep her happy, and I feel like this is another attempt at that. After they've spent upwards of $500,000 on bailing her out of prison and new cars, I'm putting my foot down. This is my day and I feel like I should be allowed to drink a glass of fucking champagne at my own wedding. My fiancé on the other hand thinks that if she's going to be there, we should be accommodating to her. Because of this, our wedding planning has come to a halt and I feel like he's choosing her over me. So am I the asshole for refusing to have a dry wedding to appease my fiancé's alcoholic sister? ETA. I realized I wasn't as clear as possible. She's completely fine with not going to the wedding due to the temptation being too much for her to handle. My fiancé on the other hand really wants her there and is pushing for this, which I think is unfair to me. Edit 2. Thank you everyone for your advice, but I think we're going to postpone this wedding until I can sort out my feelings towards his sister. I have nothing but love for my fiancé and his sister, but after doing some thinking last night I realized I thought through marriage he would completely cut her off and be mine, which isn't realistic. I want nothing more than to marry this man and see his sister get sober, but right now it's toxic for all of us. I'm going to have to figure out a way to tell my fiancé this. Nah. Feels like there's room for compromise here. For instance, maybe no alcohol before the reception, so his sister can attend the ceremony. You could even have the ceremony and reception at different locations so she's not tempted to stay. Or have a single bottle of champagne just for you and the groom. Or do a dry rehearsal dinner so she's not totally excluded from the whole wedding. If neither of you will compromise, not the asshole. Usually they tell alcoholics to skip events if it would be too tempting when first in recovery. She could go to your wedding and skip the reception. The day isn't about her, it's about the two of you, so should have the wedding you want. If this was a family holiday or dinner, I'd say skip the alcohol, but your wedding is a bigger deal. Nah. This is the opposite of enabling her. This is actually an attempt to support her sobriety because she is incredibly vulnerable. No one is more guilt-ridden and ashamed than a recovering addict. It's a minute-to-minute battle and it's damn hard. It's not your responsibility to not have alcohol there, but honestly, if you could just split a bottle of champagne with your fiancé and keep the rest of the wedding dry, would that be so terrible? I get where you're coming from, and I don't blame you. I just wish people could see it from the addict's perspective without actually having to be one. It sucks all the way around, I'm sorry. No assholes here. It's your fiancé's wedding too. You have every right to want alcohol at your wedding, and your partner has every right to want his sister there. It's as much catering to his needs as it is catering to his sister's. As someone whose sister is the only family he has left, I hope y'all can reach a compromise. I'm going to say no assholes here for now because based on your edit, this dispute is between you and your fiancé, not you and his sister. He wants a key family member to attend. You want to enjoy a wedding including drinking. I do not think either of you is the asshole, but you have to find some compromise or talk this out, and one of you needs to make a sacrifice, and the other should acknowledge it. You're about to be married, so if you can't get to a resolution here, well, could she just attend the ceremony and not the reception? Something like that? Slight, you are the asshole. It's not just your day, it's his day as well, and it's clearly important to him that she is able to attend if it stopped your planning. Ask yourself, is it worth giving up your wedding over being able to have a glass of wine? Everyone sucks here. I think there needs to be some compromise. It's not just your day, it's his too. But you also can't change the entire wedding to accommodate one person's potentially bad decisions. What if she attended the ceremony and then leave before the reception? She can be included in the family pictures as well. That way she's there during one of the most important moments of his life, something he really wants to share with her. But then isn't tempted into breaking her sobriety. I wanted to say no assholes here, but I'm going with a slight, you are the asshole. Specifically your attitude in the comments and the judgment. She needs self-control towards an addict in active recovery. I understand the font of empathy is empty, but your fiancé wants his family at his wedding. That isn't exactly mind-blowing.